All right, Billy, we are live. I am Jason Rossi. You can find me on the Twitter machine at Jason D Rossi. And with me, as always, is my tag team partner in the podcast sphere and the streaming sphere. He goes by the moniker of @BillyD, or the Twitter moniker of @BillyD2411. He is Billy D. What's going on, Billy?
Hello. Not much. Had a great day off. Gonna get ready to. What are we doing?
We're going to do stuff. We're going to tier 90s rock bands, Bill, and the definition of what that is, we'll get into. We'll go into the rules and all that. But yeah, we're gonna tier up some bands.
I'm not leaving you.
I believe you.
My TV's distracting me, so I'm going to turn it off.
Billy went golfing today, so we don't know what we're going to get out of this.
Oh, I also went golfing, and I I went golfing at noon. I didn't eat before then, and then I didn't eat during golf, so I went on an inadvertent fast.
Okay.
And I didn't eat till about 6. And then I had a beer, and I got really drunk off of one beer in Ultra, and I have not had one since because I wanted to be somewhat sound for the pod.
Somewhat, most importantly said. But yeah, so let's get into this. So let's real quick. Last week when we were, we had our brief post in your house NXT this past Sunday, but last week we did Tommy Boy. We did a retro, basically movie review of Tommy Boy 25 years later, and we both gave it 11s, which I think I said to you separately was like, I never give anything a perfect score. Any feedback, thoughts, or anything about last week's show?
I watched it again since, and it is as good as we thought it was. It holds up. It's rewatchable even like within a week. It deserved the 11. I think people who haven't seen it in a while need to go see it because it's that damn good. I think you forget how good of a movie that is.
Yeah, it is. Like we said, I think it really might be the perfect 90s comedy. It might be it's clearly one of the best comedies of all time. One of my personal favorites, both of our favorites. We're not handing out 11s for fun. I know you get the moniker of Hyper Billy every so often, but this was another level of just an excellent freaking movie. And it was so fun to kind of rewatch it. And like we said during it, it's a movie you can watch every day.
Oh, absolutely. I enjoyed it with a friend probably like 2-3 days ago, and they even forgot how good the movie was.
Yeah, it's damn good. It's by far one of the best ones. Definitely had a lot of fun doing that. So we'll probably bring you more kind of movies, maybe even exploring more from 1995. Because when I ran through the list of just number one movies, let alone that were comedies, let alone all the movies of the 90s or old ones, like there was Dumb and Dumber. There's some Adam Sandler stuff in there. There was so many we could go back to. So definitely a lot of things we can explore here on the Pop Culture Pile Driver, which you're watching right now or listening to. Don't forget you can find us on Twitter at PopCulturePD. Subscribe to us on YouTube. If you're watching us on the stream now, smash that subscribe button. Also, you can hit that little bell for notifications when we're going to be live and at you. Also, we can be found on the old iTunes, wherever you get a podcast, wherever you listen, Bill, anywhere. You can find us. It's Pop Culture Pile Driver. That is 3 words. We go by PCP. So get addicted to the content. Please subscribe. Leave a review. Positives always help. They always help. Let's just be honest.
PCP.
We're not too proud to beg. I'm not too proud to beg.
Too proud to beg.
They will not be a part of this, but that is a 90s song. So, Bill, today we are going through 1990s rock bands. You can see if you're watching the stream live, we have our little setup of tiers, the band logos. We're going to be going through, I think it's about like 25 bands. Put it out to some people. Bill, you came up with a really good list. I came up with a good list. We basically have them all in here. Argue with us, tell us we suck, whatever. We don't really care. But here's some ground rules. We have 4 tiers from greatest. Did
you name these tiers? Was this you?
I did. You can criticize those as we go. We went with greatest.
Your naming was meh.
So greatest, best of, good, and then meh. Like a band that's like, I was trying to say, like, I didn't want to be absolutely negative, but I was like, meh, I guess they're in there. For people asking where can we leave reviews, you can leave them on iTunes.
Motherfucker.
And you can also go on. You can always leave comments when these are posted live again. Those all help the analytics behind the scenes. But please subscribe again on wherever you get your podcast. It's Pop Culture Pile Driver. So yeah, those are the 4 tiers: greatest, best of, good, and meh.
I think it's fine. I think you just misread something that was right in front of your face.
It says fine. No, it's meh.
It says you said good.
Oh, did I put fine? Did I change fine? I can't see it, actually. I'm not looking at that.
Oh, really? Oh,
yeah.
I can see
now I can see it. All right. So what we're going to do is, like we said, we have different bands to go through. We'll nominate a band, and here's the rules. I'll bring up the band that we're going to talk about. We'll both kind of briefly discuss where we think they should land, make a final verdict, post it on here. Just so you know, you can play along with us. There's a link in the description of this video for this exact tier list that I created. So feel free to get on there. We'll do more of these in different subjects. Create yours. Let us know what you think after ours is finished. But yeah, so the one side rule, kind of like America's Got Talent, Billy and I both have one lock. So if I disagree with him on a band and where they place, he can say, nope, I'm using that. They absolutely should be the man, or they should be greatest, or they should be fair, fine, whatever that third one is. And fine. And same thing, he can also bump one. We each get one bump, one lock. So if he says blank band is a greatest and we settle on that, I say, no, I'm bumping them off, putting them somewhere else. So we both
like in court, the preemptive strike. We don't like you, you're out.
I like it. That's the rule. So let's get into it, Bill. The first band on our 90s rock band list is the Goo Goo Dolls.
Oh, man. Slide.
So when you think of Goo Goo Dolls, the first thing that comes to mind for me is that Iris song that I absolutely hated from the movie City of Angels with Meg Ryan and Nicolas Cage. That song was absolutely everywhere.
Breaking ESPN news that I just hear?
What happened? Oh, it's my phone not on sound. MLB proposes 89-game schedule. I'm so embarrassed by the MLB, I don't even want to start. I could do an hour just on how pathetic baseball is right now. But yeah, so Goo Goo Dolls, major hits throughout the 90s. Like I said, Iris, I think, takes the crown, but they also had like Black Balloon. They had some jams early in their days. So when I first hear that band, the first tier that comes to mind to me is Best Of, but what about you? What do you think?
I mean, I like a couple of their songs. They're not one of the ones I'd put up really high. I'd probably give them a meh. I mean, besides when you said that, the first thing that came into my head, and I didn't put this band, I believe, on my list. If I did, they were in the lowest of the tiers on my own personal one. I mean, Slide is the standout one to me, that and Iris. So I would give them a meh.
So if you say meh, I say Best Of, we'll put them in the fine category. Goo Goo Dolls,
that's fair.
Into fine. All right, so next up is Alice in Chains. When it comes to 90s, comes to that early 90s grunge scene, I don't think there's a band that just has one of the more defining riffs. That let's do it together. Yeah, Alice in Chains to me.
I'm the man in the box. Yeah, I mean they have a ton of good songs. They're great
Them
sound.
Bones is one of my personal favorites from them. Also had two lead singers, Lane Staley, R.I.P., Jerry Cantrell, very versatile band in that right. Obviously, then they now have a new lead singer with the passing of Lane Staley, who go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, like, they are a very distinctively 90s sounding band. I had a couple of bands on my list that I don't think made the list just because they had their career in the 90s. It was a part of their very long career. This is a band that was 90s. This is a 90s band. I don't care when it started. This is the sound of the 90s. This is everything about it is 90s. So
yeah, I agree. What jumps off? Where do you think they should tier?
I mean, I love a lot of their songs. Rooster's probably my favorite, but
I
would say minimum Best Of. I could see them being a greatest. Easily, I could see them being a greatest.
I think Best Of as well. I don't think greatest. Like, again, I know I'm a tough cookie to judge. I think it's really hard to get into that greatest category. I have less than a handful, I think, that will get on there from my perspective, but that will be the fun of this. We'll see where you think. So I think we'll settle them in at a Best Of.
The other problem I have with them being a greatest for me, and it's just because of my shortcoming on this, I didn't really get into that specific type of rock in the 90s. I was more of like a hip hop and like poppier rock kid when it came to the 90s. And then when I got into my FNX days is when I really was like, oh shit, this is the kind of music I'm feeling right now, big time. So I think people might be most upset already at the end of this list with them not being greatest, but Best Of is fine for me.
Yeah, we'll see. That is a good point, because I think the one thing, like yourself, we're both born in the mid to, well, basically mid 80s, and it's funny because I probably at this time, early 90s, was listening to more classic rock, like Beatles, classic rock, R&B stuff, because you're driving the car with your parents I was like 5 years old, 6, 7, 8, and definitely had a huge hip hop phase, like the Bad Boy Entertainments to all those artists was a big part of my life at that time.
During their heyday, we were like 8. You were even younger.
Oh, yeah. No, yeah, it was absolutely. And that's the thing. And then I had more appreciation for them as we got closer to the end of the century. And that's when I started to discover my own taste in music, and also love Timbaland and Magoo, but that's a whole nother side subject.
And they love to love y'all.
Oh, what a song. Just the beat on that. Before Timbaland became a producer, like the known producer, great stuff. All right, next up on the tier list, we get 311. Talk about a blend of your hip hop, your rock, your hard rock, and reggae. 311 really is like the mashup of all 90s bands kind of thrown together if you listen to their discography.
They were all mixed up.
They all don't know what to do. They had, one of my personal favorite songs of the 90s, Down, just that rockin'. They had what a riff. It's just unbelievable. 311, seen them live as well. Not every band. I did see Goo Goo Dolls live. Alice in Chains, I did not. 311 holds up well live. Real fun show. So to me, when I think about them, the one that first steps up to me, I hate to say it, I put them probably more in the fine category than I would in the best of or greatest.
So they're my friends, our friends, my best friends' favorite band, 311. So I grew up listening to a lot of 311. He was my friend Anthony was the first introduction I had to 311. I like them. They're fine. I never connected with them on any sort of emotional level. There's a lot of good songs. I think my favorite song by them might not even be in the 90s, Amber.
Oh, God, Amber. So quick aside, Amber, that is a bad luck song for me for years. This is right before I met you. I used to pop tires a lot when I first got my license. And for some reason, there's a lot of people that could vouch for this. Every time that song was on, I would pop a tire. 3 times it happened. 3 times.
It was in 2001.
Yeah, that was
just fine. That's still in that area. But, I mean, they had some good stuff. But to me, they're not. I'd almost put them in a meh, but I can give them fine. They're fine.
We'll settle on fine. I think we'll definitely have a lot of angry people. They're one of those hardcore fan bases. I know you're talking about Anthony. I went to a concert with Anthony to see them, actually, and that kid was losing his mind. Next up, we have Rage Against the Machine, a band that I would
put them in greatest. That's our end.
Are you locking them?
Locking them up.
No, there's your one lock. You don't even know where I was going to go. What if I say greatest?
I don't care. That's how important this is to me.
Okay, well, one thing I want to say about Rage Against the Machine, I think they are in that Bob Marley type category where they don't remind me of a genre. They don't remind me of an era of time. They are timeless. Like these songs could have been in 1986. This stuff could have been in 1999. This stuff could have been 2008. Their music doesn't seem like it fits into a certain category. It's rock and roll. It's timeless. It's edgy.
It's Tom Morello and an incredible. Just an incredible overall sound from everything that they do, from the lyrics to the rap rock identity that they had. I mean, they have a poignant song to this day, Killing in the Name of, which still rings true. Yeah. I don't know, over 20-ish years later, however long it is.
25 years, I believe.
Their sound is still to this day unique. They changed the game musically. Every one of their songs gets me fired up. And they were pretty much, I think, 100% a 90s band. Maybe one album came out after
in the 2000s. They had
I think it came out in 2000.
Yeah, it was like Renegades. So we were looking this up. I remember, and that was the only album outside of it. They've had separate side projects. Tom Morello, one of the greatest guitar players, most influential guitar players. For a hard rocking, especially in the 90s. Just such evolution that he did. Obviously, went on to do stuff with Audio Slave. But yeah, Rage Against the Machine to me. When I was a kid, I just loved listening to them while playing like video games or getting amped up before sporting, like playing basketball. I remember
I would play Driver. Remember the video game Driver?
Yes.
I would play Driver to Rage Against the Machine. I would also listen to Alice DJ too, to just show you like the two sides of the coins there. But it was such a great, every song that they put on. I remember, I believe this was probably off of, Gorilla. Was that the last one? No, Renegades. So I think it was the Battle of Los Angeles. Yes. And my brief career as a professional wrestler, when I would go down to Woonsocket, Rhode Island, and we would rent a ring, Guerrilla Radio was my entrance music for the time because it's just such a fucking rocking song. Yeah. I really think they might be my favorite band of the 90s, favorite rock band. They're not the best. Sure. I know that, but I think they are my favorite. So I'm going to put them, no questions asked. Yeah.
Well, just to let you know, it's a good call because I would have put them in a best of category because I don't see them as the overall greatest, but that's just me. All right, next up, Bill, we have the Counting Crows, a man who got more pink
booty
than anybody. A booty. He got some booty. He was banging friends. He was banging foes. This guy was getting it all with dreadlocks, and he was a white boy. Counting Crows, obviously, tons of hits. Mr. Jones, the big breakthrough that they had, a song that everyone thought for a long time was about his penis.
What was it? Do we confirm what was it about Courtney Love? I don't even know.
No, it was a friend. He's literally met a man that he didn't actually know his name. Years later, this is an interview. He said that he didn't actually know his name. He just titled him Mr. Jones and created the song basically wrapped around a conversation he was having with some stranger. It's almost like Life is Like a Box of Chocolates in a song wrapped around a penis.
I think they're one of those bands that when I found out they had a greatest hits album, I was like, huh. Really? Like, I know they have 4 big songs, and the songs that they have are really good. I wouldn't think of them as an all-time 90s band. I think they're more of a cult classic-y type of band. I mean, a lot of people if you polled 10 people off the street, could they name 4 Counting Crows songs?
Honestly, it's so funny you say this. I was thinking about this while I was preparing this tier list. I was like, we should do some like man on the street stuff. I know we can't in this current phrase, but maybe like through Zooms or whatever, because that is a great question. I was thinking about that with a lot of these bands. Like off the top of your head, how many Counting Crow songs could you name? And I bet you at 4. I think maybe people couldn't count 4, but I think I'm going to go with you. I'm going to take the under. And I think that kind of, I think their name is bigger than their music. And
Lefty in the chat says I can name 2. I think that their standout hits are great, but I think a lot of people would be like, oh, they're a 2-hit wonder. They had Long December, right?
Yeah, Long December, and I think Mr. Jones are the 2 that like jump off the page. And the thing about A Long December, it is the most depressing song outside of Ben Folds 5 Brick. By the way, they're not on this list, but I don't know. I've never liked that song. They have a lot of fun songs. They still making music to this day. So I don't know. I guess for me, where do you want to put them? I'll let you start.
I would give them a meh. I think they're the definition of a meh band. They might have one of the higher hits, but they're not like they might be fine. They're in that fine meh level.
So I'll tip the scales. I'm going to put them at fine as well. I think they're on that same Goo Goo Dolls level. I think they are at the end of the day, people, we're not talking about them in the lineage of music of all time. We're thinking 90s specific.
I mean, to put them in fine next to 311 is almost a giant slap in the face, though.
Oh, hey, listen, that's what we do. We're disrespecting people, fan bases, and causing people to think. Yeah. If they don't like it, they can deal with it. Guess what? If people are in the chat or wherever they're watching, if they want to put in a lock too, let them have it. If somebody says, you guys are crazy, put this band there, maybe we'll consider. Next up, one of, I think, the big boys of the 90s. When you think of 90s, you think of Oasis. This is a band that burned bright, had monster hits right out the gate, Champagne Supernova, Wonderwall, 2 that just era-defining 90s band. These are some of the biggest tracks of the 90s. And this is a band that came on the scene, exploded. Obviously the famous "We're the Next Beatles" quote was basically the death nail to them. Liam and Noel Gallagher, 2 very famous people. Not a lot of the bands we spoke about. Can you name several members of the band? So I'm a huge Oasis fan.
I love Oasis too, and I believe it was our friend Frank who got me into it the most, and this was a little bit after the 90s, obviously, because I didn't meet him until later. But I knew all of the songs. I remember definitively watching the music video, Champagne Supernova, when it first came out. It was awesome. They have a lot of good songs, like What's the Story, Morning Glory is just an amazing work. I have trouble giving them greatest.
Oh, I don't think they're greatest.
I think they're a best of.
Agreed.
I think they're a firm best of. I think they have a lot of great songs, a lot of hit songs. Like you said, I mean, it helps that they're brothers and they fought and they were kind of both pieces of shit.
Still hate each other to this day.
And they were, drunk. I would have loved to see them in concert because we saw Jet in concert, and I feel like they would have had the same kind of energy of that. I mean, Jet's Australian, but that just crazy Euro, just going nuts, kicking guitar over and amps over. So I would give them best of because Mr. Jones is a good song, but you can argue that 2 of the better songs of the 90s are Oasis songs. And I don't think many of the bands on this list, like beautifully produced, written, that people would say everybody knows that song. I mean, it played a huge role in one of our favorite shows, Lost. I mean, he's singing it down the street at some point. So I would give them best of just because of basically 2 songs, but their overall puts them there 100%.
Yeah, all around the world. They had plenty of hits outside of these. And the other thing I would say is I did see them live, and it was amazing. And speaking, it's funny, you mentioned Jet. Jet opened for them on both those shows. I saw them in Madison Square Garden and then down at the time, the Tweeter Center. Amazing band. I love Oasis. They had good albums into the 2000s. And then
was Sheath Electric a hit?
Or was that just not a hit, like culty, like fan base hit? Like,
see, they had a lot of those.
That's
for me.
A song. That is a song.
There's a lot of those on the albums, and we haven't gotten to, I think, any besides Rage on this list. I can't pick out, and I think this is why I'm having trouble giving anybody a greatest. is I haven't had one of those albums yet, except for Rage, where it's like, oh, I like almost every song on at least 2 of their albums, you know?
Oh, good point. Okay, so now let's get into a band that just smells like the 90s when you say it. Bare Naked Ladies. The Canadian-based Bare Naked Ladies had some real popular songs. If I Had $1,000,000 comes to mind. Rome. They had, some really,
Broke into the old apartment.
Old Apartment, 1 week. They were the slapstick bubblegum pop rock music that really defined, I think, the overarching sound of the later 90s. Early 90s, you had grunge. Mid 90s, you kind of had like 60s style, really good basic musicians. And you had the pop rock era of the late 90s as boy bands and stuff got more popular. Bare Naked Ladies to me overall, they hold up. Whenever you lose a lead singer, that sucks. I actually interviewed this band several times during my radio career, my illustrious radio career. Really fun band, but I'll tell you one quick story.
And Canadian.
Yeah, mighty Canadian. I saw them live actually with Frank, who you mentioned, Gavin DeGraw, who I'm a huge fan of. So he opened, excuse me.
In a good way. In a good way.
Yeah, okay. So I saw he opened, and I was a huge fan, especially when he first came out. And then the Bare Naked Ladies, known as fun. They throw in macaroni and cheese at the crowd. They're talking about donkeys and monkeys. It's fun, haha. End the song. They go, our friend just committed suicide by jumping off the Toronto Bridge. So we're going to end this one and dedicate it to him. And I'm still thinking they're going to play something loose. Like, it's really serious. And they played the saddest song I've ever heard. I don't even know what it was. And that's how it ended the show. And I'll never forgive them for it. So Bare Naked Ladies, just for that, I'm giving them a fine at best. So,
yeah, that's fine. Totally fine. I am not a huge fan, and the day that Community actually ripped on them in a shout out to the Big Bang Theory, because they they thought that they were, a celebrated alt rock band themselves, the show Community, and that Bare Naked Ladies was kind of like the Big Bang Theory of the day. And they're like, B&L, we need shorthand for B&L. I think they're a little bit overrated. I think a lot of their songs can be confused with Harvey Danger. But I do like a lot of the music. I've always wanted to learn 1 week. I think a friend of the podcast, Rich Blake, one of our friends, is, if you looked at him, I think you can look at a guy and be like, that guy knows every word to 1 week. Yeah. There's just those kind of guys. You know what I mean? Yeah, that are like, they took the time to do it, to break it out at a party. And I'll be honest, if you break it out at a party, I'd be impressed with you. I really would.
I agree with you. I think that real quick, I'm looking over at the comments going back to Oasis from Nick Bona here. Wonderwall's right up there with Stairway to Heaven. Any musician, bar, crowd known, roll their eyes if it gets played. That's a really good point. It is probably one of the more iconic songs in music. But we'll get back over to up next. Let's listen. When you think 90s music, I got the shirt on here. It's Nirvana. Era-defining movement. I know people want to give credit to the Pixies for the beginning of grunge. You can put whatever you want, but commercial success with grunge music, it is Nirvana. They had Smells Like Teen Spirit won like the best song award for like 18 years. I remember watching every MTV Countdown list, and I absolutely hated that song when I was a kid. Hated Nirvana because I hated anything that just won all the time. Funny to be a Boston sports fan over the last couple of years, but I just despised them. I couldn't stand Nirvana. I didn't like Michael Jordan. I was so sick of them. And then as I got older and I listened to it, especially like 10 years ago when I really did my deep dive on the first few the 4 Nirvana albums, I was blown away. And I was like, this is impressive stuff. Nirvana to me is one of the greatest bands of all time.
So I've heard this argument before that this is not even the best band that Dave Grohl was in. We'll get to them eventually, but when you go back and look at Nirvana, they were unreal. There's a couple of songs that sound exactly the same, like Rape Me kind of sounds a lot like Smells Like Teen Spirit in a way. But a lot of their other songs, when I went back and listened today, I think they've gotten into the now it's hard to say, but at one point Blake Griffin was underrated and then he became overrated. I think Nirvana is in that weird category where they were thought to be so good for so long that they've now become overrated. They are not overrated. Go back and listen to their songs. Go back and listen to the music. It is phenomenal. Their albums, pretty much, I'd say most of them front to back are awesome. Like incredibly good stuff. You could feel the anguish in Kurt Cobain, obviously, from what happened to him. I really think that they have become an underrated band. Obviously not underrated because I think people would probably consider them 1, 2, 3 top bands. I think they have to be in the greatest without question.
I agree.
And I really think that they have been underrated later in their career because if you go back and look at their hits and look at like their albums as a whole, they have so many great, unique, and just, defining songs of the era. This is another band that is 100% 90s. It's a little different feel than Rage, obviously.
Of course.
But this is a band that defines the 90s in the sound.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, people now see them when they go to Target and pick up shirts like what I'm wearing. But I think the thing with Nirvana, it makes them completely different. If you listen to their albums, there's some songs in there that you wouldn't be putting on your iPhone, I guess, today. I was about to say iPod.
Kurt's band, I've heard this argument too. Kurt Cobain's death made this a better band. They were huge before his death.
Of course they were.
They were mega huge. Smells Like Teen Spirit was one of the most like takeover moments in music video and music.
It's an era-defining song.
They're Unplugged. He was fucking alive for people when it came out, and that was huge. That's what put Unplugged on the map. People who say that Kurt Cobain's death gave you a better band just aren't. I'm sorry, Frank. I don't agree with that take at all. They are a great out-and-out band. I think that his death obviously sucks, but I think people start to underrate this band.
I think to really put it in perspective, his death made them legendary. The music was good regardless. I still believe this. Same thing with Heath Ledger's performance in The Dark Knight. It was going to be a great performance regardless. It makes it legendary that he died.
It was already legendary. It was already that level.
Yeah, but
people were blown away by it.
I know, but people look back on that and always be like, oh my God, Heath Ledger, that was incredible, because I think that adds to the elements of it. But nonetheless, Nirvana, in the greatest. Next up, let's get into Matchbox 20. When I hear Matchbox 20, I just hear the opening riff to 3 a.m. That's just what I hear.
I mean, Matchbox 20 is another one of those, like, I like them, but how good of a 90s band are they? They're a definitive 90s band. They're like, there's a few different sounds that break down the entire 90s, and they're one of them, I would say.
Yeah, I think that they just had that sweet sound, like they had like the poppy bubblegum stuff, but then they also had a lot of heart. And I think that's one thing we can define as we go through the bands we've already talked about and we'll continue to talk about. There's a lot more heart and feeling in the 90s, which I think made the 90s music so good, like Bent, Push. Their first song was Push.
And it was I want to push you around. Where I will. What's the lead singer's name?
Rob Thomas.
This is one of my defining moments in my career. You talk about the radio stuff every now and then. I had a great meme, credit to another friend of the podcast, Jimmy Holland, who gave me the idea to do when, I think Torrey Krug pushed Rob Thomas from the Blackhawks.
Oh, yes.
And I thought he wants to push you around. Well, I will. So they're pretty good. Like, they have a lot of good songs. They were a pop rock band of the day, I would say.
Yeah, they are
a 90s pop rock. I think they hit like the Kiss 108 and the FNL. Like they hit like the hardcore stations and the pop stations.
Yes, wherever you live, like you heard them on your top 40 radio as well as your rock radio stations. So to me, it's really weird. It's really hard for me because I wasn't my sisters. This was like their band. I wasn't a big Matchbox 20 fan when they came out. Looking back, looking at the career, especially just in the 90s, I think I could easily slide them into best of. Looking at the category, the people in there, I'm going to put them more at fine.
I think they are fine. I think that's probably right. I couldn't give them best of because they're not. They're just not. They're not a best of band. They're kind of like they're not, I hate comparing things, but it's what I do. They're not Nickelback, right? But they are in that like kind of.
You know what? They are. I think they are like Nickelback.
Kind of stuff.
I think that's a good similarity. People just decided to make Nickelback like their enemy for some reason.
I think this was timed right. We have floating tools like Chad Kroger.
There you go. Look at that.
I mean, it's kind of true, but like there is a reason for that sound. I will listen to Matchbox 20 with no shame. It's good stuff, but it's not great. It's not best of.
All right, next up, one of my personal favorites of this genre, another band that I look back with much brighter eyes than I did when I was younger. It is The Offspring. First song comes to mind, Bill, when you hear Offspring, what is it?
I mean, for me, it's Keep 'Em Separated. That was a defining song. That was also the first CD that I ever bought was Smash. Now, it was a little bit after the time, but this is when I was retro. I was probably 8th, 9th grade. It had definitely already came out, but I had heard it in like, I think my sister's friend's car. And I was like, I love this music. This is one of the first bands that I was like, I like every single song on this CD. That Smash album, they had a couple of misses in between. I think it was Ixnay on the Hombre and one other one in between.
Before Americana?
Before Americana, which was, I think, barely snuck in the 90s, maybe like 1998, 99.
99, I believe. Yeah, 99.
But they have two fully, like, back-to-back great CDs. They are one of my favorite bands, one of the best sounding lead singers, just such a great full voice.
Excellent,
I put him in like a top 5 of my personal favorite sounding singers.
Whoa.
And they had like just good hard rock, you know?
I agree with you. They balance punk, which Green Day blasted on the scene of you like right before. They balanced having like really, really well put together actual like music, like so well produced. I don't know the producers on the album, but those guys just rocked. To me, they're a best of. I'm not putting them in the greatest. I think they're a best of.
I can't push for them to be best of either. I think there are bands that are a little bit better. I would probably have them in my personal favorites, but they also did another thing. They had like relatable, kind of, people of my age and generation songs. I definitely give them best of. I think that's fair.
All right. We'll lock them in at best of. Next up is a band that, I put this out actually on like a couple of different polls. I always use like, just when we're doing stuff like this, I put stuff on like Facebook or Reddit. We put it obviously on Twitter. Don't forget, you can follow us at Pop Culture PD. We'd really appreciate that. You can subscribe if you're watching the stream right now. That would go a long way. You can find us on all your podcasting platforms, Pop Culture Pile Driver. Sometimes I forget to even fill out that.
As I say, like, love, sub. Like it, subscribe, and show us some love in the comments, and we'll read them and show it to you back.
Love, sub.
It's kind of like live, laugh, love.
Kind of. I sure do. I think it's one of the signs behind me, but I just don't have it hung. Just like me. All right. So no doubt, Eric, talk about like slapping on when it came to ska music, which is another big part of the 90s that really, only very few bands broke through to this mainstream. We had like the Safe Ferrises that you've heard of, but that was mostly covers. No doubt, Gwen Stefani. First thing I hear of Don't Speak. A number one song for, I think, over a calendar year almost on the Billboard Hot 100.
I mean, Tragic Kingdom in itself is another one of those albums you can play from start to finish. They had a pretty strong 90s overall. I think they're one of the top bands. It's tough for me to give them... can I give them the greatest? I don't think I can. I think they're just a tick below. I really do think they are a best of, though. I think when you look at 90s music, they are a defining part of it. Like the music videos stand out. So many songs. Spiderweb is one of my favorite songs by them. And that whole album is packed with stuff. They had a good follow-up album. The name of that one is escaping my mind for a second.
Oh, the one, all I know is Ex-Girlfriend. I love that. I loved Bathwater. Some of the songs that weren't necessarily like, not the number one hits that some of their earlier days were. I dig them. I think, and another band, I didn't give enough.
So Return to Saturn was 2000. So they pretty much only have one major album in the decade, but I think that album is defining enough and just such an unbelievable work that it's good enough to put them in the best of, even though 2000 we're kind of in that ballpark anyways. It's close.
Yeah, and most of the stuff, to get past, the 80s kind of rolls into, 91, 92 in most things. Right now we're in 2020. I still think, for whatever trends and popularity is still going to be known as the 2000 teens, I guess. But I think at the end of the day, Gwen Stefani was also, a sex symbol, somebody bigger than the band. Obviously, that led to so many different distractions within that band, but they just jump off to me as definitely, I think, best of. Could be fought for the greatest just because of their... the allure and the memory.
Now that I think of it, though, they can't because they only have one album in the 90s that's really defining. But, I mean, on that album, they have more hits than the Counting Crows in their entire career. Super big hits. Just a Girl, I don't even think we mentioned that one. That was a huge song.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. That album is ginormous. Sold billions of records. Not really. Actually, we'll get to a band that secretly still has a top 20 most sold albums, and nowadays album sales are way down the trash. All right, here comes a heavy hitter, Bill. Red Hot Chili Peppers out of California.
They are incredible, but when I look at their album, their discography, not as many smash hits in the 90s as you would think. A ton, an absolute shitload of them. But a lot of their stuff is just early, they were around for a very long time, actually. Let me look it up for sure.
Oh, yeah, Bill, they came in the late 80s. They didn't have massive hits yet, but then they dragged all the way to today. Obviously, the highlight for me, John Frusciante as a part of the Red Hot Chili Peppers, I think are their best years. Under the Bridge is the first song that comes to mind, but they had the whole Californication album. They had amazing stuff. They had even a song, Where I Go, I Just Don't Know.
No, and I even
there's on the Conehead soundtrack. I don't even know the name of the song.
Their upbeat stuff is great, like Aeroplane, another phenomenal music video. They had was Suck My Kiss in the 90s?
I think that might be right in that brink.
Okay, because Californication, I think, is one of their best albums, and that was right at the end of 99. That was legit in 99, but that had so many. That had Scar Tissue, that had Around the World, that had Californication, obviously.
Around the World were so good.
Yes. So I would give them... I feel like you have to give them best of just because of who's in... No. I have to give them greatest just because of who's in best of.
Yeah.
But I feel like we're giving it to them as like a complete career award and not just a 90s thing.
I don't know.
Which is fair.
90s is strong. Like, I know they had stuff afterwards, but I still think when you think Red Hot Chili Peppers, you're thinking of those 90s bands. I do see in the comments they formed in the early 80s. Obviously, putting out popular music, I always try to break it up, but I do think it just shows. This band's been around for a long time. Anthony Kiedis, another one of those, major frontmen, sounds different. Like, when you think of like Anthony Kiedis, he doesn't remind me of Kurt Cobain. He doesn't remind me of a lot of the other lead singers. He kind of did his own thing. Obviously, he had a lot of trials and tribulations that we saw through his career. I am also seeing Max say there the definition of fine. You're the definition of fine. Are you kidding me?
I don't agree. I think there's so many of their songs that I absolutely love. I do think we're giving them a little bit of a pass to be in greatest because I really do think they are mostly, if it was a whole band thing, like if you considered everything, but we're considering 90s, I would say it's close to them being greatest. I'd put them more best of.
I still think they're greatest. And again, we just mentioned there's Flea, John Frusciante, Chad Smith, a.k.a. Will Ferrell, and Anthony Kiedis. Not a lot of bands on this list. So you're naming all the band members.
Yeah, I still don't know if that matters as much. I think more of my favorite songs, like Under the Bridge, was definitely an 80s song, right?
No, 90s.
Was it?
Yes.
We sure?
100%.
Okay. All right, fair enough.
Up next, we'll go with Incubus, and a very interesting band. Another one of those bands that cross rock,
maybe man.
Okay. Rock, rap. I think they had the heavy hits. I think of them. I think of Drive. That's right on the brink. That's like 99. I think at the end of the day, we can make it quick. I already heard your thing. I'll put them in the fine category. I really like them. I think their stuff in the 2000s was also very strong. Enjoy the catalog of music, but they probably fit right into that fine category looking at the competition.
They're a step above Hoobastank for me.
Oh, God damn it. No.
I know a lot of people love
Hoobastank.
Love. Get out of the way. I'm putting $10 at Hoobastank in the jukebox.
Bingo.
Raffy Bomb. No, they were never my kind of band. They have a few songs. Again, if you ask me to name every, I keep wanting to say fucking Hoobastank. I can name you like maybe 3 Incubus songs off the top of my head.
All right,
they're not really, I don't even know. Like Stellar.
That's the name of an album, but yeah, that's good too.
I Wish You Were Here.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Drive, Nice to Know You. There's so many. There's a lot. But anyways, I get what you mean. Incubus to me though, I think is a really like good band if you enjoy that music. But I don't think at the end of the day looking at I'd put them probably in the lower tier of fine. They could have been a man. You know what?
I don't think we have anybody in Meh.
No.
If we're going to put them in Meh, I'm fine with it. I'm totally fine with it. But we need to be a little bit harder because I don't see too many categories for Meh.
Oh, I see some.
I think the Goo Goo Dolls are Meh, but I'm not going to argue.
Well, we can readjust at the very end. All right, next up, Pearl Jam. It's hard to argue this one, Bill. This is the greatest. This is a band that, right behind Nirvana. I think they're that number 2 band when it comes to the 90s of sound, emotion, feeling, hits. When you think of just the look, they looked 90s. They are the flannel band where, the grunge side of Nirvana was the hair down, depressed. Pearl Jam, still depressed, still killing people in their music, pulling out guns. But they also just, Jeremy, I think is the defining song of them. They are just wearing flannels. You remember them. Didn't like them when I was a kid. Have total respect for them now. Still rocking to this day.
One of my favorite things they ever did was Keep on Rocking in the Free World on the MTV Music Awards.
Yeah.
Oh my God. They brought out, was it Neil Young?
Oh yeah, Neil Young.
Rocked. I wasn't appreciated. I didn't appreciate them till a later time, but I think their best song is Even Flow. I think that's the perfect rock song of the 90s. That's like if I'm going to point, if somebody needs did you ever have the old Encarta where they had rap music and it was, what is it? I forget the name of the band and the song. So it's a terrible example, but that would be the example I use. No, Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five, The Message. That was the one that you would click on in Carter for an example of rap music.
Oh,
if somebody
I got you.
was like, hey, like it's an online dictionary thing, like
Gotcha,
Wikipedia.
Gotcha.
So if Wikipedia had an example for 90s rock song, I think it would be Even Flow, but they also had, you said Jeremy, I think Better Man's a better song than that.
We can keep going. Like there's so many. There's Last Kiss. I know that's a cover, but like 10, very popular.
10 is probably
the best. One
of the most defining records of the decade. And I think it came out in what, 91?
Yeah, 92. Don't quote me off the top of my head. I believe 92.
91, 92. So it was early on, and they defined the sound. Eddie Vedder, an absolute stud, one of the greatest frontmen of all time. I actually got sick and couldn't go to see them. The one time I actually won tickets to see them through FNX. But it was one of those bands that stands out and is still, praised to this day. I have a buddy at my old work who basically kind of looks like Eddie Vedder, has followed Eddie Vedder around to like shows. Eddie Vedder knows him by name, I think, because he's looked into a restraining order before. But I mean, this band has not even a cult following. Like their fans are huge. Like this is I think it's the greatest band of the 90s.
Yeah, I agree. I think they are.
But it's not my favorite, but you can't deny how good they are.
Yeah. If I were to get one lock, it'd be Incubus. But where would Incubus be? He said, oh, be a greatest. No, get out of here. Sorry, we're not giving you that lock. That's a little too extreme. First band to put in grade. All right. What's the first band they put in grade? It goes in order. So if you see by the way we did it, like that's where they went in category. So Rage was the first band that went. It's not by, just randomly bringing up bands. There's no error according to that.
Yeah.
All right. Next
and I
up,
put Rage in without even a question.
Yeah, that was Billy's lock. So I still have a lock, and we both still have things we can move without question. So we can even do that towards the very end. Hole. When you think of Hole, I think Malibu, and I think Kurt Cobain getting effing murdered, and I think of Courtney Love being a crazy person.
She had a couple of other songs, but this is the definition of meh.
Yeah, I'm not even going to question it. I think they are meh.
We're already at 41 minutes, so we can move on kind of quickly.
All right. Live, to me, love live. I could argue for them to be
live
fine.
Music? I like live music.
Who doesn't? I love the band. Personally, I jam out to a lot of their stuff. They are rocking music. Also have a little tinge of that Nickelback that people have. I love you like water. But
I think they're a little bit more a band than Nickelback. I don't think they're just made to sell records. I think they have like some real feel to it. Like Lightning Crashes is one of it's a definitive 90s song. I think it came out in like the mid 90s. But
that was Tossing Copper, I believe is the name of that album. And I believe that was like 94.
I think it's Throwing Copper.
You can throw it. I toss it.
Okay.
I don't really throw it,
but they had a lot of good songs off of that. I think they even came up with some stuff in like 2000.
Yeah, Dolphins Cry. That was later. They had the Dolphins Cry album. They had what's the song? Crap. It's like When You're Dead, but you're still there. I can't remember it now. But it's really making me embarrassed. So where do you put them, Bill? Where would you rank them?
As much as I like a few of their songs, I think they're a fine or meh. They're definitely not a best of.
No, I don't. I don't put them at best of. I can't put them anywhere near greatest. I think fine at the best. Do I just add them to meh, just to add into the category?
Yeah, I'd say that because I think I give the Goo Goo Dolls more hit songs.
Yeah, I'm not happy with myself, but live had some ups and some downs. Next up is the Foo Fighters after the breakup of Nirvana. Wow, we all know the story from here. Dave Grohl takes over, makes his own band, records his first album all by himself, does all the instruments. Next thing you know, he creates just a nice little file on there, calls it Foo Fighters. Now they're one of the world's biggest bands of all time, have slipped into that classic rock vibe over their last 10 years. But the beginning, man, they came out swinging. I don't think there's much question where we're going to place them, but first song you think of, for me, it's tough. I either go Monkey Wrench or Everlong.
I probably go Monkey Wrench. Everlong, I think, is one of those songs that stands the test of time. It's still great. The acoustic version is great. My only thing about them is they're not really – they're kind of just like a very good band. They're very good. They put out a lot of very good music. They have a lot of very good songs. Nothing by them like really gets me to another level. Like, I think Jimmy Eat World, in a way, is a similar type of band, and they have a little more songs that rock me. I think Monkey Wrench was like the last one that they did. When did Best of You came out? That's one of my least favorite songs of all time.
2003. Best of You is great. Come on, that album. That was the double album. I don't think they've had a bad album at all. If anything,
I think they are the definition of a very, 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 very good band. I can give them greatest because I don't mind.
I think they're best of, actually. That's where I was actually going to put them.
Yeah, I think they're best of. I don't think they're greatest. I really don't. I don't think they have that next level. I don't think any of their songs. I think no, that's a lot. Some of their songs are next level, but I don't think the majority of them are.
I think they are. I think if this was a 2000s, that's where I think their next level stride of greatest would be, but that's a story for another time. Green Day up next, Bill. This is another one. It's hard to argue how not to put them in greatest.
I mean, even some of the later stuff that they did, like Warning, I really liked. Yep. I mean, you could talk about, Kerplunk, Dookie. What was the one right after Dookie? Was it Basket Case?
That's on there.
That's just on there.
That's on Dookie. No, I think it went Dookie, Kerplunk. We could easily pull this up, and if someone's going to yell at us in the comment section, that's a diehard. But for me, also, I love Nice Guys Finish Last, which was off the Varsity Blues soundtrack.
Oh, yeah.
I think there's no question they were greatest.
No, so it went. They had, 39 Smooth was their real first thing in 90. Yeah. But then Kerplunk, Dookie, Insomniac, Nimrod, which was really good. Warning, which was actually 2000, which I'm actually shocked by. But, they would have been one of the great bands of all time. And that is before they dropped what I think is their best album of all time in 2004, American, which had, I think, the defining song of probably the entire 2000s, that and Seven Nation Army.
Would you say that is American Idiot or Boulevard of Broken Dreams?
Oh, Boulevard of Broken Dreams, I think, is by far their best song. Yeah. I think they have so many good ones, like Time of Your Life. I mean, you brought it up at the finale of Seinfeld. They can really do it all, and even when they had, like you said, Nice Guys Finish Last, they had all different kind of songs. They had really rocking songs. They had super punk songs. They had super deep songs. They
matured. That's the thing that I think makes it. But for 90s, they were the punk band of the 90s. They paved the ways for like the Blink-182s and a lot of bands that spun off from there. A lot of one-hit wonders like SR-71s. But I think they matured when it comes to the 2000s to become really good like all-time artists, and I think that's where they're at today. Really dig. They actually put out an album earlier this year that nobody heard about because coronavirus. But I think they're great.
Mac in the comment section is a career award. I really think they were incredible in the 90s. I think every one of their albums is good front to back. Maybe Insomniac is a little bit of a step back but they came out with it the next year. But on a whole, I think the majority of their songs are very good.
Yeah, don't forget, we're taking that snapshot from 1990 to 1999 for the most part. Aura comes out after, and, I think Green Day's best days were ahead of them, but I still think when it came to 90s, you're looking at them as like one of the greatest 90s bands. All right, let's bang through a few of these ones. Blues Traveler, where do you put them, Bill?
I would give them... I think you have to give them... I want to give them... Yeah, here I am just spouting off like an idiot. I want to give them Fine, but to me, they have two really good songs. There's a lot of other songs that I've heard that I'm like, that's pretty good. Hook is one of my favorite songs of all time because I think it's so just creative. Genius.
So damn
absolutely
creative.
Genius. Their other big hit is what's it? The
Runaway?
biggest hit.
Run Around?
Yeah, Run Around. I think they have to be meh because they only have two hits.
Well, you know what? I'm just going to put it. I'm not even going to argue it. Here's another band that I think is, it's going to be kind of tough to place. They could run the gamut. Bush, Gavin Rossdale.
I think this guy is a hero, a legend among men. He dated Gwen Stefani. He was a handsome son of a bitch.
Married Gwen Stefani.
Cheated on her. Like, just think about the power that that guy must have thought he had. It's not a good thing, but just think of how much of a dick you have to be to cheat on one of the out and out most beautiful women in the world. Like used in comedy shows. I'd rather be sticking in Gwen Stefani tonight, but I'm not. Just a shining example. And that's derogatory. But they used that in the episode of Scrubs to show how beautiful she was. I think their first 16 Stones has so many good songs, but after that,
they had Razor Blade Suitcase, another great album.
I thought it was good. I didn't think it was great, and I was a huge
Chemicals Between Us.
I don't like that song.
Neither do I, but I just remember it. Bush, to me, I think Gavin Rossdale, one of the sex symbols. I think they have one of the best live performances that really nobody talks about a lot. It was MTV's Spring Break when he played Glycerine in the rain in a plugged-in electrical. This man could have been electrocuted. It's an iconic performance of all time, but I still think at the end of the day, looking at the stack, looking at the category, they're not better than best of. I don't think they're meh. I'm leaning towards Fine.
I hate to give them fine just because I think 16 Stones is it, but you can't put them with the other bands that we have currently in Best Of. They're not as good as any of them. They're really not.
Okay, next up, this is a tough one. I'm not a fan of this band. Seen them live. That's always when I confirm I don't like a band. Dave Matthews Band, but I cannot shy away from their impact in the 90s.
I am not a DMB guy.
Yeah.
I guess it's kind of like a cult thing. Our buddy Emerson, who worked with me and you, huge DMB fan. I think you can see why. He's kind of a bros bro. It's a bro-y band. They have a lot of good songs. They use it in an episode of the Community that bam, 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 bam.
Oh, yeah.
I just don't like them. They're not my kind of band, but if we're putting them in a tier of the 90s, I think you have to give them at least Best Of. I can't give them greatest because they're so corny and I fucking hate them, but you can't deny Dave Matthews Band, unfortunately.
No, I agree with you there. Smashing Pumpkins is up next. They're another one that's kind of tough. Didn't like this band growing up. Don't really love them now, but
my dad loved this band when I was growing up. So I listened to a lot of Smashing Pumpkins. I really did. My dad absolutely loved them. 1979 and that video where it was like old timey. What was that?
Tonight.
Yeah, Tonight. I think they're actually like 79. Cherub Rock is another one of those definitively great songs. Bullet with Butterfly Wings.
That's that is the jam.
That is fucking and despite all his rage, he'll still book a match in a cage because what's his name? I always forget this guy's name.
Which one?
The lead singer.
Oh, Billy Corgan.
Billy Corgan is booking wrestling now.
Yes, he's the TNA. I'm sorry, he is the NWA booker. He was part of TNA for years. I'm a big fan. I met Billy Corgan, total douchebag. Yes, it's true. But I enjoy him. I think that they fit in Best Of.
Sure, I'd give him Best Of.
All right, Cranberries is up next.
We had a Cranberries discussion in our Madden group today.
I don't even want. Well, if you were to take that conversation, where would you place them after that category? Conversation.
I think somebody said, "Don't let it linger," and I was like the Cranberries.
Exactly.
So they have. To me, I only know 3 songs off the top of my head for the Cranberries. I think that's good enough to get them at least fine.
So wait, I know Zombie, Linger, and what's that other? I can't think of
Dreams.
Dreams. There you go. All right, Bill, you win it over. We'll put them in the fine category. Cranberries jumping into fine. Up next is one of my personal all-time favorites, so I'm very biased. It's Weezer. Come out of the gate with the Blue Album.
Which is incredible. Yes. Every song is good. There's like...
there's My Name is Jonas, which might be the best debut song off a debut album for any band of all time. It's right up there with like Beatles. Like I forget what their first song is off.
But it doesn't matter. It was Bubblegum Pop. This is what I've seen them 3 times, maybe 4, and at least 2 of them they opened with this song, and it's just fucking rock from the moment go. But then they can do everything else. Good. Go into your spiel. I'm sorry I cut you off, but I just I think the Blue Album is one of my favorite albums of all time.
See, I think the Blue Album's so good, and I think Pinkerton's a better album. I actually like the Green Album personally more than those. I like all their stuff from the 2000s, but this was the 3 biggies in the 90s. I think Weezer could be a greatest, even as a biased fan. I think they're better.
I was giving them greatest all day.
All right,
because their first 2 albums are phenomenal.
Yes,
the third one is pretty good. I do love the Green Album, but that was I think 2000. But they had so many great songs.
No. Green Album was 99. Then they went into the 2000s.
Oh, then yeah, 100%. They're easily one of the greatest 90s bands of all time. They would probably take my 2 or 3 spot. See, I like them much better than the Foo Fighters. I think they're just a better sound. We saw them together. They played back to back.
One of the best tours of all time. They opened with the X's, if you remember the band, the X's. Then it was Weezer and Foo Fighters back to back. One of a memorable night for our friendship. Billy's car hitting the old skids.
I think that might be why I don't like Foo Fighters that much. Because that night really jaded me.
Yeah, Billy's car broke down. And were you going to Wendy's? Where was the actual breakdown?
Oh, we were driving back. There was 19 people in my car.
No, I thought it was my car where everybody stuffed into.
No, but that was because I had a giant car. So there were already like 7 people in my car. And then it broke down to a city I will never go to again, which is Worcester. That place can eat my poo.
Yeah.
Like that was the worst experience of my life.
I'm sorry. I know Worcester's cleaned up their act. They have really good burger places, but don't go to Worcester unless you have to.
I mean, just the way the Blue Album kicks off, like you said, My Name is Jonas. They have Buddy Holly. They have the Sweater song. Say It Ain't So is the name of the song. It's just so freaking good.
telling me that. Yeah, no, and Pinkerton to me is still my favorite, maybe my favorite album of all time, especially for this genre of music. All right, let's keep it moving here. Third Eye Blind. First song, I always think Graduate for some reason. It's realistically gonna be like Jumper. There's so many songs I think they had. Off the top of my head though, they're fine.
How's It Gonna Be is probably the one. Semi-Charmed Life.
They're good. They had a lot of music, a lot of hits, especially in that quick time frame in the 90s.
They did. I would put them in the fine category. Again, they're that middle of the road poppy band that was played on, a little bit. I mean, I think
they crush on.
Yeah, punk stations might have been like, all right, we got to play them again, really? But they're going to be on every 90s like party playlist from here until the end of time. Deservingly so. I mean, Semi-Charmed Kind of Life, which is a super depressing song, really does get you going though.
And they always edit out the part where he talks about like suicide or something. That there's such a radio edit, you've never heard that line probably.
Yeah. Matt points out in the comments that Goo Goos and Third Eye Blind are very similar. I actually like Third Eye Blind a lot better.
Me too. I think Third Eye actually it's really hard because early Goo Goo Dolls is really like great. I think they turned into a super poppy like bubblegum stuff towards the end. But I think if he agrees with us then because they're both in the fine category. Next one is when I think of 90s bands for some reason, this is the band that comes to mind every time. It's Gin Blossoms. Talk about a very interesting. They had a lead singer who died after their first album broke. That's why their second album is called Congratulations, I'm Sorry. And obviously they didn't hit the same thing, but Hey Jealousy might be the song of the 90s when you just think of like just the 90s. When you think of like that time frame, Nintendo 64, Clueless, Hey Jealousy. That's what I think of off the top of my head. I don't think
I like that song. And then after that, I don't have too many other ones that I really can point out as songs that I like.
So where would you place them, Bill?
I would place them in the meh.
Ooh, with that big of a... I'm just going to give it to you, and if I want to move it after, I will.
They have one big hit.
No, they have another one. I can't think of it off the top of my head.
That's a good one. That's a good point. You're the music guy.
I know. Listen, there's a lot of music in my head as I'm looking ahead. All right, up next is one of, I think personally, for the longest time, the most overrated band in the world. I never got into them. I respect them.
Don't you dare say STP.
No. We're not there yet. We're talking about Radiohead. They're the band's band. Like, if you like...
I fucking hate Radiohead. I can't stand them.
So do I. I don't like
Summer Police, Creep. Everybody who liked them. I always said, you know what? I'm not going to, hate you if you like Radiohead, but I'm not going to like you or trust you. Like, you're going to be in that, like, area in the room that I'm going to be like, I'm going to stay away from that guy because he's a super big Radiohead fan.
Yeah, I just think it was like so dorky, artistic. Tom York is one of the oddest men in music as well. So obviously, I understand their impact on music. I think like Kid A, everyone nerds out about that album.
Fine.
Every musician I interviewed.
Okay, computer. It's like, eat a dick. I'm sorry.
All right, screw it. I'm putting them in the man. Then we're both gonna agree on that. I can tell.
That's a hot take.
Screw them. I don't care anymore. I thought about it because every band I interviewed is like, oh, Radiohead. I guess their impact overall in the 90s is probably going to be more of like a best of, but I just don't see it. I don't.
Yeah, sweet band name, bro. And
As what's really bad, when I worked for a radio station, our fans at one point, the great creative that came up behind all these morons that run radio, the great creative was Radioheads. That was going to be the name of our fan base, Radioheads.
I mean, there's been so many creative meetings where I've been in where somebody comes up with, we're going to tier these categories and they're going to call them best of.
Yeah. See, idiots. I'm telling you, morons. All right. Up next is Everclear. Oh, love this band.
They have one song.
No. There's much more than one song behind.
They all sound the exact same.
There's a song that they had that
Father of Mine.
Yeah, but then they had don't forget they had Santa Monica. There's a
two of their songs sound literally exactly the same.
Hey, whatever works. All right, what would you put them in, Bill? We'll blast them.
I think they are the definition of a meh 90s.
Oh, I'm not going to fight you on it right now. Maybe I'll change it in a minute. Next up is one of the, again, more influential bands, a lot more nerdy version of Reasons Why, because people just jerk it to Trent Reznor's creativity. It's 9 Inch Nails.
I think they were a little bit better in the 80s and a little bit better in the their best album, I think, came out in like 1989.
Is that true?
Yeah.
You're making that up.
No.
What was their best album?
Got the down in it. Pretty Hate Machine. I think that's their best one. And that had a lot of my favorite songs. And I think With Teeth. No,
that was
2005.
Yeah, that was much later. That was when we were like, that's
Yeah, so in the 90s, they have Downward Spiral and The Fragile.
Yeah, I would say they're in the fine category. I could see people argue.
I love this band, but I don't think the majority of their best work is in the 90s. I think Trent Reznor is an absolute genius. He worked with a guy that I once interviewed, Alon Rubin. Well, did his video for the interview. Alon Rubin, who's another genius in the music realm. But I don't think that any of their 90s work is really that standout. They had one really good album in the 90s.
So where do you put them?
I think you give them fine for the 90s, which I don't like doing, but I think that's what you have to do because they didn't have enough in that decade.
All right, we're going to bang out the next few here. Garbage, I'm just going to let you know, they're a mad band.
Yeah, they're fine.
I'm putting them in mad. Hootie and the Blowfish, just so you know, fun fact, Cracked Rare View, their album, it was the highest selling album of the 90s and one of the most sold albums of all time. The Eagles, I think it's Greatest Hits is the most sold album of all time because obviously album sales hit a certain peak during the 90s. And so anything that was old being reissued. But that statistic about Hootie and the Blowfish always blows my mind. This
Never
is another one of you're one of the few. There was a point in time, Bill, this is not a joke. 1 in every 4 households in the United States owned this album.
It was like Frampton Comes Alive. It came in the mail with
exactly
Samples of Tide.
Yeah, but that wasn't an actual purchase. But yeah, Hootie and the Blowfish to me, I could argue best of because that one album.
I think they're fine. I think they're in that no doubt territory of they had one really great album, but I don't think they had as many good songs on the album, and I don't think that they had the staying power. They weren't like revolutionary. No. They had good pop songs.
They were the Dave Matthews Band of bubblegum pop and just didn't last.
Let Her Cry is a great sad song.
Yeah,
though.
sure.
But it's not. None of the songs are as good as anything on Tragic Kingdom. Not one.
We'll put it in fine. Jane's Addiction to me is the ultimate meh. Like fine, where they were there. Don't love them. Not really a big fan of theirs.
They have 2 really good songs that I like.
So you're gonna fight me on meh?
No.
All right, they're putting in the meh. Up next is Soundgarden. I think another one of the iconic early 90s grunge bands. Talk about a band that came out swinging. Maybe the best voice in rock and roll. We're going to have an argument between the next 2 bands. But I think Chris Cornell, God rest his soul, one of the greatest voices. I actually think his best work, call me crazy, was an Audio Slave, at least for me.
No, I 100% believe that the better band... the better band is Audio Slave. They have a little bit more of a factory sound to them. I think they're a little bit more clean, a little more polished. Every one of their songs is very highly produced. It's like perfect. I think this was a little bit more of a dirty kind of Alice in Chains feel to it, that like really gritty stuff. So I really think they could be greatest.
I'm going to say they're best of.
I won't fight you on that. I do think they lack the catalog, but from a sound standpoint, they are definitive 90s sound. Black Hole Sun, one of the most standout music videos of the era. I think that still is like the burning Barbies and the weird fucking faces.
And the mother with the degreased chips. Yeah, it's weird stuff.
I mean, but Fell on Black Days is another one. Like, I love that song. So I just, Spoon Man.
Bill, there's so much music from this band. We could go through this all day. I think there could be a special. We could do our own thing on some of these bands that we just have in best of and greatest because there's just so much really, really good music specifically for that.
I think they lack the catalog to get into greatest. I think if their whole career had happened in there, it would have counted as the greatest.
I think they're just right below. I think they're in the Alice in Chains category. I think you said that well. And kind of even in Oasis, not similar music, but just they're era defining. They're right below, I think, the ideal like top tier of the 90s. And I'm even still surprised Weezer's in there. And I love Weezer. All right, up next is Stone Temple Pilots. Bill, I'm putting them in greatest. Okay, good. I was going to say, I was about to use my lock. I didn't even need to. That band, I think the most charismatic, maybe one of the greatest frontmen of all time. Like literally, this man was a drug addict.
He's the best frontman of the 90s. I don't love his voice as much as some other people from the 90s. I like it. I
get what you mean. I get what you're saying.
But I don't think it's as like defining as many. But I think they have the catalog. They have the presence. They have the music videos. They have just so many good songs. And like they went broke. They had no money, and they came out with I think it was like Bing Bang Baby and the songs from the Tiny what is it? Tiny Music from the whatever.
Yeah, I know you're talking about.
They came out with that album because they had spent all their money on fucking drugs. You want to talk about rock and roll people? Like in the Bing Bang Baby music video, they didn't have enough money to get like hundreds of dollars, $100 bills to throw up in the air. They threw up $1 bills because that's how fucking broke they were. They were in a white backdrop Room, which is like the
Big
lowest
Bang
budget
Baby is
music video you could get, and it was fucking awesome because he's just such a wild man. Like his movements are ridiculous.
He flails his arms. There's a performance on Letterman that I used to watch all the time where he's literally so probably drugged out. His arms and shoulders don't coordinate. Like it doesn't look possible. It looks like he must be double jointed or something.
Yeah, like the tripping in a Frank brings it up in the chat. Tripping on a hole in a paper heart. They have so many great '90s songs. I think they were a little bit. They weren't like a true. They were just a good rock band that was in the '90s. See, I don't think they have a '90s sound. I think they just have a perfect rock sound.
Also, we could go through this all day, but I think like they do. I think that early stuff, especially like Purple, and obviously, let's be honest too, Plush, amazing song, one of the best acoustic songs as well. Not acoustic. That's just another one of those songs. I remember when working in radio, that song was one of the most spun records in the 2000s. Plush acoustic got more spins than most songs. Up there with Harvey Danger was the #1 spun record. Of a Flagpole Sitta was #1 spun record in the 2000s. Fun fact. All right, up next is Sublime, another band I think that's defined of the 90s. Fun, wasn't into him, never a big druggy guy. I could understand why people who like to get a little silly with the Devil's what do they call it? The Devil's Lights? I don't know. Anyways, the point
about weed?
Yeah, talking about weed. Don't they call it the Devil's Lice?
No.
All right, let's record this and put it on the internet later. So anyways, I think, obviously they had massive hits coming out right out the bat, right till the end. Another, death, Bradley Nowell cutting this band's career short. They came back with a guy named Rome. I got to be a part of that kind of era in my time on radio, but I think they're just
short of the catalog of being greatest.
I put them in best of. I think,
but they had so many. I think they did 311 better than 311 did it. I think they had better songs in that kind of wheelhouse. They did like the funny. They did like funny songs like the Kung Fu Grip, Date Rape, which is super inappropriate now, but that was a phenomenal song. Yep. What I Got, I think, is one of those defining songs. I think my favorite song, I'd probably put this in the top 25, is Santeria. I think Santeria is one of my. That's a top 20. That's just a beautiful song.
Agreed. Up next, Creed. I'm not going to lie, one of my favorite bands. Dig this stuff. You can make fun of them all you want. The late 90s, My Own Prison, Human Clay, those are some bangers of albums. Higher, go F yourself. You said you weren't screaming Higher or With Arms Wide Open, because if you don't think I blasted that freaking song when I was driving home when my son was born, you're out of your mind. As much as I love them, I'm not going to pretend like they're a greatest or best of. I think they're fine.
I think they're fine. I think they are the... what do we say? The Nickelback of the 90s. They are a butt rock band before butt rock was really defined.
You Toucher and Rich.
They have good songs. Okay. I would be ashamed to be caught blasting this. And I'm not ashamed to be caught blasting anything. Like I will blast Nickelback and sing along and get caught at the stop sign and look at the guy and continue to sing. if I like With Arms Wide Open, I wouldn't want you to see me singing that.
Oh, I don't give a crap about it. I have very little shame in this world. Look at this hair, by the way. I
think they're good. I don't think they're terrible. I just don't, they're not my cup of tea.
I don't know what the comment section's saying, but they better be lighting it up with the love for Creed, because Creed in the 90s, nobody disliked them.
I kind of did. I'm not gonna lie.
You're lying. It's okay. Up next is Sugar Ray. Late 90s, they came on the scene with 1459. Just 1 second left in their 15 minutes of fame. Fly, huge song. At the end of the day, I really like them. Most of their stuff poured into the 2000s. I could argue for them to be fine, and I wouldn't be mad if they were meh.
So, funny story. In, I think, 8th grade, I think it was that CD that you talk about. Maybe it was the... Every morning there's a hill.
Oh, yeah. That might have been 2000s, I thought. But
was it 2000s? No, I think it was 99, because it was the summer going into 9th grade for me, which was 99. Because me and my best friend Anthony traded Prodigy for Sugar Ray. And who do you think had what and who wanted what? So somebody had Sugar Ray, somebody had Prodigy.
And I would think you had Sugar Ray.
Yes.
Yeah.
I wanted to listen to Smack My Bitch Up, and he wanted to listen to it every morning. So I just like
every
CD burning part.
1459.
Was it?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it was Every Morning, Falls Apart, Someday. Those are like the three ones of the 90s. That's why.
So what are we giving them? Fine?
I think they're fine. Sugar. Their next album was with Answer the Phone. My God, I love that.
I think they're borderline meh, but I'll give, if you want to give them.
But Bill, if you want to give them meh, I could give them meh. I could do it.
No, I think that might be one to do later. Maybe we switch it up later.
Blind Melon's up next. No Rain, the only hit from them. Hated that song. Yeah, I think they're the definition of meh. Blink 182, obviously bigger impact, I would say, in the 2000s.
I don't think so.
Well, impact-wise, I think, because that's when they really took over that next level. But they had, like, obviously, Damn It was their first song. Somebody just put, how are we not talking about Space Hog? I'm going to marry that.
Oh, man, I love Space Hog.
That one song.
In the meantime.
Dude, real quick aside on that.
Why are we not talking about Local H, Bound for the Floor?
Great song. Listen, we had more. We still have like 6 more bands after this. But really quick aside about Space Hog. What's the bar right across the street from the Garden that every douche goes to that we were in fights at and everything? The Harp. Thank you. The Harp. Yes. So at the Harp, I did a promotion before a Bruins game from 5 to 7. Puck drops at 7. There's a band performing, saying, "Oh, we got a show later." I don't know who this is. I'm thinking it's a local band. Next thing you know, a manager walks in. I'm like, "What the hell, a manager?" I go, "Hey, what's going on?" They go, "Oh, you guys with the radio station? You here for the event?" I go, "Oh, what event?" This guy goes, "Oh, that's Space Hog." Dude, Space Hog was playing at the Harp at like 8 o'clock on a random Thursday, and it was one of the saddest things I've ever seen. But on top of it, some guy goes, "Hey, play in the meantime." And the band, they're like just tuning their guitars, and if you ever seen a sound check, and he goes, "Oh, we're gonna play it at the show," and the guy just goes, "What show?" Now, honestly, I was just like so sad. So sad. But anyways, Blink 182.
So I think Enema of the State is the first album. Like I was truly like, oh, this is like the defining album of my life. I fucking love that. That was 99. Again, that was summer going into freshman year, which is kind of like the formative year for most people. Yep. I love that. I think that's good enough for me to be one of my all-time favorites. Yep. I can see we can't put them in greatest because they don't have the 90s catalog, but I'd put them in best of for sure.
I just don't even. Oh yeah, Fine can be bigger. Best of. I don't. It's hard for me, but I actually can't argue it because at the end of the day, Blink 182 is a lot of like. If you're about, I'm gonna say from ages 36 to like, basic 36, 26. If you're in that range, you probably are heavily influenced by this band. The look, the style, the feel. This
I would say is a little bit of a career award, but I think Enema of the State is good enough to put him in there. Maybe it's just because I hold that so fondly, but it did have a lot of big hits on it.
No, I can't. I'm not arguing with you. I think that they were a major band. Up next, you can't really see this one because got a really bad logo. It is Cracker, actually. Cracker.
Yeah, put him in Matt.
Yeah, I'm just gonna put him in Matt. I love Cracker as well. Nice guys as well. Next up, one of the biggest albums of the decade was done by this band. It is Wallflowers. They had One Headlight, 3 Marlenas. What's the name of that song?
6th Avenue Heartache or something?
Yeah, 6th Avenue Heartache. And then they have another jam, and it's not coming to my head right now.
Heroes?
Yeah, that was later.
That was just in the 90s, though.
No, it's... not it's all... The
Difference?
Thank you, The Difference. But I still think they're a fine band at best. They could also...
Yeah, they had one album with, like...
But Jacob Dylan, another thing. Like there was a lot of hype behind him when he first came on the scene. Bob Dylan's son, what's he gonna do? Great first album, really didn't do much after that. Next, Filter. I actually want to say their biggest hit. If you want to say this biggest hit is Take a Picture, and that might
I like the song.
That might be in the 2000s.
No, I would bet that it was not. Let me see right
now. Yeah, I think at the end of the day they're gonna. Hey man, nice shot. I put
99.
All right, there you go. All right, up next, Korn.
I mean, I am a huge Korn fan. I had a giant Korn poster on my wall growing up, right next to the giant Limp Bizkit poster that was on my wall. I was that kind of a kid. So you can fight me on this all you want. I thought they were phenomenal. I even liked some of their stuff from their like 1994 album, which not many people did. I saw them live a bunch of times. So I would have trouble not at least giving them best of, but I can see Fine being fine.
Yeah, I'm not. When I'm not.
The Life though, that whole Freak on a Leash, like that was some really
Adidas.
Good
like I get it.
shit.
Yeah, I'm putting them in fine. We're not even fighting over that. Limp Bizkit, I think a bigger impact than Korn personally, but it could be biased. I don't know. They came out of the gate swinging. Nookie, huge track, turned the music kind of into what we have as new metal at the end of the 90s. I think they were leading the force like Nirvana was leading the force for grunge. I don't think they're any better than a best of, but I easily could see them being fine. And if people want to argue me, they could be meh just as easy.
I I kind of love Limp Bizkit. They hold a very special place in my heart. I could give them the best of the 90s because they had, I believe, Significant Other was
1999.
So that is good enough to get them in there for me because their first album, $3 Bill Y'all, is one of my favorites. A lot of good stuff. Even Stinky Finger was good. The remix of Faith, I loved. I mean, Keith said it, I believe, on one of the podcasts recently, that if you say that you didn't like Dane Cook and you don't like Limp Bizkit, you're fucking lying to yourself. If you lived in the 90s, you're fucking lying. Yeah, they were a defining band of the 90s. As much of a douchebag as fucking what's his name? Like,
you're talking about, I thought you were talking about Dane Cook still. You're talking
Durst.
Durst, yeah. I met him as well. Went to lunch with him, actually. Nice guy.
So I love Limp Bizkit, I just got to say. And, I think Chocolate Starfish and the Hot Dog Flavored Water was probably 2000, 2001.
That's later because that was, My Way. That was the greatest wrestling package of all time in 2001, WrestleMania 17. My God, that was amazing.
I'm giving him a little bit of credit there because that time blends so, samely in my head. But I got to give it to him.
Yeah, I will give him best stuff.
Give me something to break.
I think at the end of the day, they also, like I said with Nirvana, they kind of helped pave the way. Their popularity turned the page to, open up for like the Linkin Parks of the world and bands of the like. Up next, Marcy Playground, Sex and Candy. That's all they had. Meh. It was major, but I'm putting them in the meh as well. I can't fight you there. Up next, you can't really see this band as well. Silverchair. I think
they were really good.
Yeah, they had massive album in the late 90s. They were also one of those bands that the lead singer, I forget his name off the top of my head, had that cutesy look. Looked like Hanson, but sounded like Rage, if that makes sense. Like they just
I thought they were like a punk poppy band, but they turned out to be like an actual fucking rock hard.
Australian rock band.
Yeah, they had a lot of good songs. I can't give them anything better than fine. I could even give them that.
I'm going to put them in mad just for argument's sake. We can move in a second. Next up, Soul Asylum, a band that sounded like
two guitars, baby. Two guitars. They were so fucking good.
You really big. I spin Soul Asylum. They played one of our concerts that we put on when I was at a radio station. They are very strange men as well. They're defined by a song that everyone thought was Tom Petty. So I can't give them too much more credit. They also give.
They're meh, but I think I like a lot of their songs. Like they're talented musicians.
Give me something to break. Anyways, next up, Spin Doctors. Two massive bubblegum chop hits.
Both kind of sounded the same. Again, a song my dad fucking loved. He loved Two Princes.
My dad absolutely loved. So I had this band play one of our concerts as well. My dad made sure to be there in the crowd because we both love Two Princes and everybody. Little Miss Can't Be Wrong is again one of the greatest.
Little Miss Can't Be Wrong. And they looked like fucking shit bums too.
Oh, they looked like the 90s. They're another one. They looked like dudes that were hanging out like playing hacky sack at a 7-Eleven smoking cigarettes in high school, and you hated them. But guess what? I can't put them in meh because I think they're above that. Those songs are big. I put them in fine. Little Miss Can't Be Wrong, by the way, written about his mother-in-law or stepmother. I think it was stepmother. Next up, another band. If You Could Only See is their only song. It's Tonic.
Oh, Tonic. So Tonic makes the list, but not Local H or
Bill, you had just as much input as I did.
I did. I didn't put them on there. So Local H is the definition of meh. This is a song you will see played by acoustic guitar people at like bars and shit. This is one of those songs. If you could only see. It's fine.
Anybody could sing it. You know what's kind of funny?
When was 7 Mary 3 cumbersome?
Oh, baby, that was in the 90s. That was another one I just didn't put on.
All right, because they're about the same.
Yeah,
that's a one-hit wonder.
To be honest, Tonic really shouldn't have been on there. It was just in the first round of things I put in. All right, the very last band, then we'll kind of reshuffle here. We'll get some last takes here. Train. Now, this band, you can say what you want. Massive hits. A lot of stuff after 2000, but they had Drops of Jupiter. They had, what's her name? Meet Virginia, which one of the stupidest lines in music is when he goes, she smokes a pack a day. Oh, wait, that's me. But anyway, I hate that. Like, you don't write that. That's not written. That's stupid. But I still love the band. I think that they had a pretty big impact. They're right in that same.
Wasn't Drops of Jupiter like 2000, though?
I think that's 99.
I don't think
you can look it up if you want to. You can fight me on
2001. So they got Meet Virginia.
Oh, F me then. All right, then they're going to meh.
Yeah, they have one good song in the 90s.
It's a great song, but I can't fight, especially I just made fun of the line. All right, so as of right now, Bill, you still have one.
Fastball. I don't love Fastball.
Oh, I do.
So,
I do.
No, I like The Way gets stuck in my head, and the other song gets stuck in my head. Those are like the two cursed songs that if I hear them, I will sing them for the rest of my life, which is a good thing. But I think I don't know. I just can't.
walking out of our wedding, we had a fastball song playing, like our walk out of the aisle song, fastball song. I love fastball. They are quintessential 90s forgotten, like
they're fine.
Yeah, they are.
I think they'd be fine.
So real quick, you still have one you can move. I have two I can move basically. So is there anything you see here that you're like, oh, that's gonna move? You can't move anything up. You can only move anything down.
All right. So do you have anything that you're moving up? That's what I want.
Okay. It's really hard for me. I'm kind of looking at the best of category and wondering if something else should be in there. I think our meh category, and you know what? I'm actually going to move Gin Blossoms from meh to fine. Because I think they had a bigger impact than we give them credit for, and I like them a little bit more. So that's going to be my one move up. Now we can both move down.
Can we move Train off the list?
You can't. There's no lower than 0.
Okay, so I would put Creed into meh.
Oh, what a douche. That was just mean.
Yep.
That's not even right, though. Like, you don't
douche move for a douchebag band.
Yeah, but you don't even believe that. Like, those hits.
I don't. But we put something in meh that definitely wasn't meh. We just did. We put Dave Matthews Band in meh, didn't we?
No, Dave Matthews Band, the best of, you drunk fool. Come on, get it together.
Drunk. Right. I've had one Michelob Ultra.
That's a lot. That's less calories than like eating a soda.
That's actually a Michelob Pure Gold.
I can't even see. Just so you know, I haven't seen the chat or your face in about 40 minutes. All right, now I'm back to, because I've been looking at the tier list is on a different tab for me. I don't have two monitors here. Where's fastball? Everybody loving fastball. Now I see the tab. All right, so I can move one down. I can't believe poor freaking Creed. I should have locked them in best of. Move one down.
Move Weezer. Shut your mouth.
No, I'm not.
Shut your mouth.
I personally, actually, it's funny. I could move them down because even in my head, Rage Against the Machine, like right now, we're basically saying that the defining bands of the 90s are Rage, Nirvana, Chili Peppers, Pearl Jam, Green Day, Weezer, Stone Temple Pilots. Kind of gives me a little bit of a boner right there because I can't disagree with that. If I took Weezer out, even though I love Weezer,
I wouldn't. I couldn't. I mean, it is like to me, we did that it was our personal favorites.
Yeah,
putting that there. But it's our list. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah, and again, just to remember people that are joining us now or complaining about it now, join in. This exact thing, if you see, it's going to be in the comments. You can make your own tier.
For Christ's sakes, can we knock Weezer back? No, we can't.
Weezer's staying. Weezer's with a bullet at this point. All right, if I have to move one more down, I'm moving the Cranberries to meh. Sorry.
Oh, wow. That is not going to be liked in the chat.
I don't really care. I don't see it. Dolores O'Riordan, God rest her soul, great voice. I might regret that one later, but I'm also
I think the thing about meh is they were all like 2 hit people.
Yeah, except for Radiohead, who was like just the nerdiest band of nerdiest bands.
I think Goo and Mac are going to be making a Shime Like Meat video response.
Oh, please. Why? Because it was too good? This list is too good? Let me guess. They're cooler in their music categories. No, this is a really...
No,
really
well, we still need to do a response list to their... I think it was their 2010s top songs.
Oh, it was just disturbing what they did. But again, that's the best part about this. It draws a little emotion, but this is right here. If you're going to... I don't think anybody can fight that those are 6 of the most iconic when it just comes to 90s. See, I could even see Oasis being in that top category, but Rage Against the Machine, Nirvana, Red Hot Chili Peppers, Pearl Jam, Green Day, Weezer, Stone Temple Pilots. You can't F with that top of the tier when it comes to 90s rock bands. That is it, ladies and gentlemen. You can potentially, like I said, argue for maybe Soundgarden, maybe Oasis, potentially Offspring or Alice in Chains. But after that, no. You're not putting them... Like, Foo Fighters are one of my favorite bands of all time. But even as just taking the 90s snapshot, if this is a 2000s rock bands, guess what? Foo Fighters is the greatest. But this is not that time frame. And I don't see any complaints. These bands have massive hits, are era defining, and think about like Weezer, like the argument for Weezer, they made nerd rock like huge. Like that wasn't a thing. Like there was nerdy people who liked Radiohead, but like Weezer made like being a geek cool. Like, and that takes a lot, especially in the 90s, where now it's cool to be a geek.
I think I can argue from a pretty good place of logic to put Weezer there because they had 3 of the better 90s albums.
Oh yeah.
And like stacked with good songs. So I don't think you can say that about a lot of the bands on this list. So I think they're pretty like booked in there. The other thing that I would like to do, and I want to put this idea out there, I just want to steal the Mac and Goo movie vault idea. And I think that's what we should do for one of our next podcasts with songs. Song of the year.
Okay, we can call it something a little different. We'll change up vault. What's a synonym for vault, Bill? Treasure chest. treasure chest, the pop culture pile driver treasure chest.
No, we'll noodle it so we don't come up with the tiers of best, greatest, fine, meh.
This was the greatest tier maker list of all time. Just so you know,
it was really good. I did like it. This was enjoyable, and you know what? I thought this was going to be a 2.5 hour podcast. We got out in under 90. I'm happy with that.
Yeah, we could probably even narrow it down next time with our next category, or just have less bands. But I think at the end of the day, we appreciate everyone for listening. If you're listening to this via Treasure Trail, if you're listening to this through your podcast device, please give us a subscribe. Pop Culture Pile Driver can be found wherever podcasts are found.
Into the PCP crypt from Mac. I kind of like that.
Look at that. We'll have to pay him a fee.
Tomb.
All right. Anyways, but if you're on YouTube and you're watching this live or in the past, please hit subscribe. It would help us a lot of ways you don't even know. Don't forget to rate us 5 stars if you believe we deserve it. And even if you don't, what the hell do you care? Give us 5 stars either way. Follow us on Twitter at Pop Culture PD. He can be found at Billy D2411. I can be found at Jason D Rossi. Bill, any parting words for the fine folks?
Weezer is better than your favorite band.
Oh, that sounds like our first t-shirt. we should use their logo so we get in trouble. All right, that's all for we got. This is our tier maker. Don't forget, you can check out this tier maker. Check out the comment section on YouTube. I can put a link to it in the podcast as well. We'll catch you all real soon. We got a lot more content coming at you. Get addicted. It's Pop Culture Pile Driver.
PCP.
Bye.